Hi, I'm Gareth Green and welcome to Voice Leading Tips episode 10. Yes, there are 12 of these videos on the subject of voice leading where I'm just trying to address people's concerns and queries about is there a rule about this, or why doesn't this work when I write a piece of music. It's not completely exhaustive, but it's kind of the most common things that come up in voice leading, like where should a melodic part go as it goes from one note to the next? How do I treat my individual parts when I'm going from one chord to the next? All this kind of stuff. Well, what's tip number 10? It's simply this. Aim for stability in at least one of the inner parts. So particularly when you're writing in 4 parts, trying to keep a bit of stability in one of the middle parts is usually the sign of something that's working well from a harmonic perspective. It's often the alto part that's nice and steady. Doesn't have to be, but often it is. So just have a listen to this little passage that I've written. Okay, just a very short excerpt. Well, I don't know whether you like it or not, but it seems to work all right, doesn't it? But notice this alto part that I've put this blue line against. This is how boring the alto part is. Doesn't come much more boring than that, does it? Now, if you were writing that, you might be thinking, oh dear, I don't think I can really do that. Maybe I'll make it more exciting and have the alto part jumping about all over the landscape. Actually, no. If you've got a decent melody running, well, actually having the stability in the middle of the texture, no bad thing. Have a look at the tenor part. It's not that much more exciting. It's slightly more exciting than the alto part, but you see how much stability I'm trying to put into the middle parts here. Now, this is a slightly extreme example to illustrate the point. I'm not saying you have to have, thousands of E flats in the alto part or thousands of B flats in the tenor part. But what I'm saying is stability in those middle voices, particularly if you can achieve it in one part, tends to stabilize the whole thing. Now, in this case, we've got a melody at the top that's kind of speaking for itself. We're kind of climbing up and then coming down to a cadence at the end of it. So there's a melody that carries it. It's sort of supported by the bass, isn't it? Kind of running in parallel motion. And then before the bass goes off and is independent at the end. So you see how those outer parts interact, but you see how that stability in the middle voices is great. And there's another video in this little series about avoiding crossing parts. So if your alto part's jumping all over the place, you're going to end up with crossing parts. There's another video talking about the gaps, the distances between parts. If the alto part's jumping all over the place, you're going to run into trouble with that as well. You're probably going to bump into other things that we've talked about, like doubling major thirds and all sorts of things. So this stability thing not only gives you a bit of cohesion to the passage you're writing, but it helps you avoid some of the other common mistakes when it comes to voice leading. So when you're hearing all 4 parts, you're not really thinking, gosh, that alto part is boring, even though there's a case to be made for the fact that it is. Actually, the overall impact is I'm hearing this melody and I'm hearing a bass that's slightly tracking it, and I'm hearing stability in the middle that's kind of binding the whole thing together. And you hear those stable middle parts are really helping our progression of chords, and they're not distracting us from the melody at the top, which is the other thing that happens if they're leaping all over the place. So there we are, aiming for stability in at least one of the inner parts, often the alto part. And if you're writing something and you're thinking, well, I just can't get stability in here, it's just not working, well, ask yourself, is there a way of reorganizing the parts for chords that give you a bit more stability? Or sometimes is there a case for changing a chord so we get a bit more stability via another route? Anyway, this is what you're aiming for anyway, and you'll be amazed at how it kind of glues together the whole integrity of the 4 parts that you are creating. Well, if you've found this video helpful, let me invite you to take a little journey to the Music Matters website, www.mmcourses.co.uk. And in particular, on the homepage, click on Maestros, and you'll discover this amazing musical community that you might very well want to be a part of. There are 3 levels of Maestros, nothing to do with ability, they're just levels of engagement. So level 1 is a kind of fun level, you get emojis, but you also get early access to videos and so on. Level 2, you have all those perks from level 1, you have additional perks, the big one being access to a monthly live stream where I teach every month for an hour, usually on topics that are being requested by members. Once you've signed up, you have access to all the previous live streams that we have, all recorded, and there's a huge resource of things going back as the last few years there. Level 3, you automatically have all the benefits of level 2 and level 1. You also get discounts on our courses. You also get access to a second live stream every month, which is for members to submit their own work, often composers, but sometimes it's performers as well. You can submit your own piece of music. We'll talk about it in the live chat, and you get one-to-one evaluative feedback from me as part of the process. So 3 different levels of engagement. You can find out all about it by clicking Maestros on the homepage at www.mmcourses.co.uk.